Hey, how's it going, folks? G here, One Man Stand. So, just a little quick video. First off, please go have a listen to the recent cover that I've just put up. It's My Way by Limp Bizkit. Now, whether you love or hate Limp Bizkit, I know I used to hate them for years. They represented everything that I hated. But, you know, you can't deny the guys are seriously talented. I mean, Wes Borland, genius. Sam Rivers, absolutely phenomenal bass player. John Otto, incredible drummer, and he is just, some of his timing signatures and the way he plays is crazy. But anyway, I done it as a little tribute to Sam Rivers. I was late in getting it done. I actually didn't intend on doing one. The reason it came about, I had been trying to mess around with the dotted eighth delay. I'm intending on using this, not extensively, but quite a bit on my own stuff, which I'm currently writing, by the way, and it is going to be metal this time. So, word of warning: if you started listening to me as an electronic guy and metal isn't your thing, sorry, I'm sorry, guys, but metal and punk have always been my biggest influences. I did start off playing electronic years ago, like Jean-Michel Jarre, Kraftwerk, and stuff like that. But I was always a metalhead. So back to the dotted eighth. So I'd been trying to learn how to use the dotted eighth properly. You get a lot of players using it and to make a riff sound busier than it actually is. Wes Borland, perfect example of making a riff sound like there's more to it than there actually is. And it's quite clever because it means you're saving a lot of energy while you're playing that little section. You're saving more energy, more dexterity as well, or when you need it the most. So I was wanting to use the dotted eighth, as I said, in my own stuff, and for like melody overdubs on the guitars, and I've been trying to figure out the best way of using it and who to jam along to sort of get my technique up to scratch. Lots of players use it, lots of bands use it. Leprous, you'll hear them using it. The Edge, famously used it ad nauseum with U2. But Wes Borland, it's kind of been a signature sound for him. And he's just an absolute genius with how he uses it on his like guitar melodies and stuff, and really make something sound really atmospheric. So yeah, I've been sort of jamming along to a few people, as I said. And I just decided, well, who better to learn, how to get my technique better with the dotted eighth delay than Wes Borland. And I was jamming along to My Way, and I just thought, sod it, I'm having so much fun with this. I'm going to record a cover. And I did, in a day, in an evening. And I got the full mix done. I recorded all the parts for it earlier on that day. All the instruments I will say it was only the instruments I recorded in one day. All the instrumentation was done, including MIDI drums. I didn't just download a MIDI map, by the way. I sat and listened to that and programmed the drums myself. All of the instrumentation was done earlier on in the day, and then later on that evening I'd done the mix. I think it was the next day I went back. It was the next day I went back and recorded the vocals. Very straightforward. And it's a perfect example of, the old phrase, and it's the band name, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. You don't need to overcomplicate something just to have it sound amazing. It doesn't need to be overcomplicated for it to sound good. It doesn't need to have a lot going on for it to sound good. Sometimes simple is better, and that's a perfect example, is this song. The whole recording came together really quickly, but as you saw in the video, I was using a fretless rather than fretted. I just thought it would work better. So yeah, fretless bass, and it was a tribute to Sam Rivers. As I said, I was never a fan of Limp Bizkit when they first started. I hated them because they represented everything I hated about the direction metal was taken at that time. Metal it was all about thrash, and it was all about death metal round about the time that they started becoming bigger and more well known, and I hated them for that. I hated them because it was just too different. But then a few years later, I ended up actually sitting listening to them because one of my friends at the time was a big fan, and she was sitting listening to it, and and when you're listening to something objectively rather than, just hearing it in passing, but when it's not your choice to put that album on, you're kind of made to either listen to it or try your best to block it out somehow. And I ended up actually sitting listening to it, but as a musician instead of, just someone with my own ideas about what metal should be. And I realised these guys are phenomenal. These guys are incredible musicians, and I became a fan. So this track, My Way, my version, this is my tribute to Sam. As I said, it just kind of happened. I didn't set out to do a tribute, when Sam passed. It never crossed my mind, to be honest, because I just thought it would have been in bad taste. That's not to say that anybody that did it was in bad taste, but I just felt for myself, I would have been doing it for the wrong reason. It would have been just to jump on that bandwagon, rather than just doing it out of some sort of altruistic reasoning. But yeah, so when this happened, it just came about through jamming the song, loving the hell out of it and playing it, and I just decided to record it, and what you hear is what I played. As far as the video's concerned, people have probably noticed in my videos I'm not jumping about, I'm not even standing, which is ironic. Someone has pointed this out. One man stands. Someone actually said should be called One Man Barely Stands. The reason it's One Man Stands, by the way, for those that don't know, I'm a massive Anthrax fan, and they have a song out. They have a song, trying to remember what album it was. I think it may have been Persistence of Time, but the song is called One Man Stands. It's not one of their more well-known tracks. It's certainly not my biggest favourite of theirs. It's a great track, but it's not my biggest favourite by any means. The reason I chose that name is because I was wanting a name for this new project. This reflected my being a huge Anthrax fan, so it was a bit of a hidden message, about how much of an Anthrax fan I am, along with it reflecting the fact that it is just me. It's me on my own. One man stands. There you go. So anyway, but yeah, the reason you don't see me standing, jumping about like I used to be able to, is because I have disabilities. I have a severe back condition. I have degradation of the two discs in the lumbar region of my spine. Damaged it years ago when I was 16. 33 years ago. Damaged it playing basketball, which was, along with music, is another of my biggest loves. Playing basketball. I played it from high school right up until I was 40 years old the last time I was able to play. Since the initial back injury, tore a muscle in the base of my spine, doing a jump shot, had my back to the basket, jumped and tried to turn in mid-air. It's a shot that a lot of players use, turn in mid-air and shoot. So I decided I was being defended against. I thought, right, I'm going to try this. Jumped up. It's a shot that I'd done before, turned in mid-air, but it was only the top half of me that turned. The bottom half decided I'm not moving, and when I landed, ripped the muscle. Since then, just through compensating in my movement to compensate for the back pain when it initially happened, probably did do some damage to the discs. I never got it looked at professionally. I should have. I really should have. Probably wouldn't be in this situation that I'm in now, but anyway, shoulda, woulda, coulda. But anyway, so the damage was done. So just every few years, that pain would flare up out of nowhere from the initial injury, and I think it was in my mid to late 20s. Every couple of years from then, the disc herniate, or you would pop a disc, and that happened every couple of years. Well, every 3 years initially from my late 20s, and the time in between those episodes started shortening, and the discs, every time that happened, I would be compensating more for the pain when I was moving around, and that was causing more degradation to the discs. That's why I don't jump around and move about like I used to. Last time I was able to was when I was around about 40 years old. So that's why you always see me sitting down. So little bit of backstory for you. Go and have a listen to the cover that I done, the tribute to Sam. Rest in power, Sam. And I'm really, really proud of this one, how it came out. It's mix-wise, I think it's actually one of my better mixes so far. And again, like the song, I just kept the mix simple. It's a simple master chain. The only overcomplicated things during the whole process was trying to achieve that Wes Borland. Oh, Wes Borland. I have to get the manager. That Wes Borland sound for the main riff. When you hear the riff where it kind of of slides up the 5th fret on the high E string. When you hear that in the verse, what he was actually using there, and I think he used it in the main riff itself as well. I've done a deep dive on how he achieved that sound. I thought it was simply just clean, slightly overdriven to that point of breakup tone with the dotted 8th delay. Didn't realise that he used to use, can't even remember the pedal name, but it was a Boss sort of digital chorus and flange delay. And what he would do was it had a setting called whacked, and when you put it to whacked and dialed everything to 10, it created a ring modulation effect, which is more commonly used, I should say, on synths. You hear a lot of ring modulators being used in synth work. Trent Reznor is a great proponent of the ring modulation, but again, that just shows Wes Borland's genius. He used that ring modulation effect. So when I was listening back to the mix, I was like, something's still not quite right with the guitar tone. But that was the really only overcomplicated part of the whole process, was trying to get that sound. And I didn't get it 100%. I will admit that. I didn't get it 100%. But the reason being is because I don't own that pedal. I don't own the pedal. So I had to make my own kind of facsimile using the effects that I have in Ableton Live. I created that ring modulation effect because I think that's how he done it. He had it before the amp itself. So that had already kicked in before it even hit the amp. That sound was happening just on the unprocessed guitar signal before it went into the amp. So I created the chorus, I used a chorus and the dotted 8 and tried to mess around with the settings just to get it to sound that sort of ring modulated sound, and then just put it through a simple, slightly overdriven, slightly at breakup point tone in the ToneX software. That was the only complicated part. The rest of it, really easy, really straightforward, and really simple. But I'm still damn proud of it, and yeah. So go have a listen to it anyway. I think I've rabbited on enough, folks, so keep your eyes out. There's a couple of more covers in the works as I speak. Working on a little special something with one of my Twitch buddies. Not going to say who, but I'm working on a little something with one of my Twitch buddies for him and his channel. I'm also still working on a couple of other covers who Mike Shreds over on Twitch. Go give him a follow, folks, because the guy's a fantastic musician and vocalist. He's hopefully going to be featuring on vocals on at least one of these covers. Just a case of getting his free time set enough for him to be able to work on it. So just keep your eyes out. It will appear eventually. And I also have my own stuff that I'm working on. I currently have almost one full track already written musically and recorded. I just need to do vocals. I do have lyrics for that one song as well, which are completely finished now. So I just need to record the vocals for it. And that's one track done and dusted. I have 8 other tracks, so 9 in total so far that I have the bare bones for. So when I say the bare bones, a main verse riff, sorry, and then a chorus maybe. That's as far as I've got. But I resurrected a few of the Sunday with Ola riffs that I had done for his channel. I always said I wanted to develop them further eventually, and I have finally. So keep your eyes out. There will be a good metal album this time from me very soon, hopefully. Anyway, I'll see you on the next video, and go listen to the Limp Bizkit cover. Leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave a comment, because all of those things, liking, subscribing, commenting, all helps the channel a hell of a lot. It just boosts that video and the channel as well in the algorithm. So I'll see you in the next one, folks. Bye.